Tremendous here. Got another battle report here for you. This is a cool one. This is a local game store tournament that I attended. It was a 2,300 point battle. This game 1 of 3. It's 2,300 points because we're prepping for the Lone Wolf tournament. They're doing 2,300 point lists. This is great. This is a really, really good tournament, and it's got a great ending. So, yeah, you guys are going to enjoy it. But anyway, it is I, Lord Tremendous of the Ogres, versus Sex Panther of the Abyssals. And usually what we do when we play these games, there's 8 people that showed up to our local tournament, which wasn't bad. Our first one was 12, but a couple of the guys had to work. Actually, 3 or 4 of the guys had to work. But we also had some newcomers, so it all kind of balanced out. So I guess if everybody was available, we would have had close to 16, 20 people. But we got 8. I'll take what I can get. And Sex Panther, we usually roll off randomly to determine who's going to play in the first round, and Sex Panther called me out. He did. He said anti-friend things to me on all sorts of stuff. And, yeah, I accepted the challenge because I didn't care. I was just there to push plastic across the table. And we beat the crap out of each other. So enjoy this, game 1 of 3, and screw it, let's get to it. Here's my list, and there's a very small change this one compared to the last battle report. As you can see, I have a captain now, and I gave him a 2-handed weapon and a heavy crossbow, because screw defense. I've got 2 army standards, one has a healing charm, and I've got 2 red goblin bigots on flea bags. I really like the way these guys are kitted out. The captain is a crapshoot. I gave him a 2-handed weapon and a crossbow. Because screw defense. If it's not defense 6, it ain't really that big of a deal. And I figured if I do have to throw him in with his 5 measly attacks, with crushing strength 3, at least anything that he hits with will wound. The rest of my army is pretty much the exact same from the last battle report. I have a giant. I've got 2 units warrior hordes with 2-handed weapons in each of them, because when they hit really hard. And then I got 2 Siegebreaker Horde units that are just butt naked. With that defense 6 and all the damage they do on an attack, they're great. I also have the Red Goblin Scout Troop, and they're just chaff. And then I have the rest of my list. I have a Chariot Regiment with the Crystal Pendant of Retribution still, and that is quickly becoming my favorite unit in the whole wide world. I have another Chariot Regiment just butt naked on their own doing their thing. They're just there to give me that long distance charge. And then I've got a Shooter Horde with Blessing of the Gods, because it's too good of a unit not to take. That's going to do it for my list. I'm going to post my opponent's list, play some music. Feel free to pause whenever you like, see what he took. So for this tournament, we used the scenarios right out of a COK 18 book, and we rolled randomly with a D12 and got push. After setting up all your forces, roll a D3. Each player places that many loot counters within their setup area. It was 3 counters. Since it was a tournament, it was each one of us have a counter, and then there was a counter in the middle. And yeah, if you can get a unit controlling a counter into your enemy's half of the table, you get 2 points. If you control it at the end of the game, but it's in your half of the table, it's worth 1. And whoever has the most victory points in the end wins. Pretty straightforward. Here's deployment, and I'll be honest with you, I was just like, okay, I know there's objectives in this game. I get that. I put mine on the far right there, the unit all the way over to the right. I put my token in with the siege breakers. My idea there was to get them across the table and just hide them in that corner from everything if I could. There's a unit of warriors and an army standard next to them. The army standards just keep them in the game, and the warriors are a sacrificial unit. I figure something charges the warriors. It beats up on the warriors. Siege breakers can charge, blow through them hopefully, and get in the back where nothing can bother them. Especially if I can like get their flank and their side covered, and you have to charge them in the front. Really good chance they're going to be okay. And that's how I'd get 2 victory points. I believe his token is... I don't remember. I'm not going to lie to you. I really don't remember where he put it. It'll come up during the game. In the center, I got my chariots. In the back there, my naked chariots, but I have my retribution chariots over to the left a little bit behind the dogs. And the idea is I was going to fire the... I'm sorry, not dogs. Red Goblin Scouts. The Red Goblin Scouts are going to fire towards the forest. Chariots are going to shoot straight forward. And I wanted either his big scary unit of knights or his big scary unit of large infantry, the Fallen, or whatever they are. Not the Fallen. I don't know, whatever the big, large infantry unit that he has there, to slam into my chariots, destroy them, and hopefully take enough wounds that I could shoot them with my shooters around the hill in the back there off the table. Until then, my shooters and my captain were on the hill. They were going to shoot at the knights, possibly the 2 big demons on my left flank. I really didn't know what I was going to do against them. I've got my other unit of warriors on the left side there, just prepared to do whatever presents itself. I've got a giant and a bigot on the left side there. The giant and the bigot are sacrifices to the big old demons over there. I figure if I can keep them over there, I can keep them out of the way for a turn, maybe 2 if I'm lucky. But that's really it. I have no answers for the big guys. He's just got so much heavy-hitting stuff in this. I'm scared of all of it. But yeah, that was my plan going into it. Basically crap myself and hope for the best. And, well, you'll see how that goes. Here's top of 1 after movement, and I got to go first, which was really cool. So on the left side there, the right side, my siege breakers and my warriors, they go over past the obstruction there and stay put. Just enough to get them clear of it, really. The army standard moves up to stay right behind him because he's just there for inspiring. I leave a little gap between the 2 units because if he has magic or something up there, I want him to shoot at the character, not the units, especially the big siege breaker unit that has the loot counter in it. My Red Goblin Bigot on the right there goes up next to the impassable terrain, the obstructing terrain right there. The idea is he's just going to take his pot shots at the big old horde break or something just for kicks. I decided to change my mind in the middle. I didn't want to seem too eager with my chariots. I didn't want it to be too obvious. So I sent the scouts out. And I figured if his knights charge my scouts, or if his units come up and go after my scouts or whatever, that's fine. I'll countercharge with my scary chariots, do some damage to him, get countercharge, hopefully by a lot, and then get my chariots blew up. Now, keep in mind, when deploying and everything like that, I told him everything in my list. So it's not like I had any secrets. So I had to hope that he forgot and I could bait him in. Because it's a unit of chariots, he has to deal with them. And he doesn't really have any shooting as far as I can tell. So I hold everything back, trying to lull him in with the scouts. On the left side there, the giant stays put. The Red Goblin Bigot moves up so that he can take a pot shot at the smaller demon, and that's it for movement. So we start off in the pansy phase, and my shooters take aim at the knights and do 6 wounds to him, which is the 3rd, so I'll take it. That was flippin' awesome. Then my Red Goblin Bigot takes a pot shot at his warhounds in the middle there, and a single wound goes through, which is just hilarious. Nothing else happens in my turn, so here's bottom 1 after movement, and he comes forward pretty good. His 2 demons on the left side there come thundering forward, and the rest of his army kind of comes up conservatively. He's not quite falling for it with the exception of his dogs. They take on my scouts, which I'm fine with because then I'll countercharge with my blowing up chariots, and then hopefully his infantry and his cav, and maybe even the demonette things will countercharge and all get blown up by the Crystal of Retribution. So I'm trying not to get overexcited about that because I still got a lot to do on this table. But that at least is kind of, it's got my hopes up. Other than that, though, that's it for his movement. We jump into the pansy phase, and I don't remember which one of these it does it, but one of them fires a lightning bolt at my bigot and does a single wound to him, which with a 9/11 is still not great. That, unfortunately, is enough to break him. Even with the reroll, he routed, and I've lost a bigot right off the bat. Kinda sucks. I was really hoping that he would have to charge and be out of position for a turn or so, but it is what it is. Then we go into combat, and his war dogs put a single wound on my scouts. Yeah, he just rolled awful. Really, really awful, and I have no one to thank but the dice gods. Even with a low nerve, 1 wound wasn't enough to break these guys. They are wavered, but that's it. So he backs off an inch, and while they're going to stay there, all that really does is gives me another round of shooting. I can get some stuff in a better position, and when he does finally beat them and I can countercharge, more of his stuff will be close enough for it to charge into my chariots that go boom. That takes us over here to top of 2 after movement, and I measure with my giant, and I realize that his little demon is within 14 inches. So I'm like, you know what? Why not? The big demon will go into the giant. If I get crappy rolls with the little demon, so be it. But then they'll be tied up against a 17-19 giant for a turn or two, and that's awesome. I angle on the left flank there. I angle my warriors to face towards the demons just in case one gets froggy. I want to have that threat zone open. And the rest of my stuff kind of moves up a little bit, but I'm just angling. I'm preparing for counter charges. On the right flank there, the warriors move up a little bit. The siege breakers just change formation or change direction just slightly so that they're kind of angled more. And the army standard moves up to fill in that gap behind the warriors now to get past the obstruction. That is it for my movement. In the pansy phase, I'm a little nervous about the big demon thing, so I fire with my shooters into the big demon thing, and even with cover, I'm able to do about 6 wounds, I believe, to it. Let me zoom in on that. I'm pretty sure... Yeah, 6 wounds were done to him, and that's terrific. The shooters really are my MVPs so far. They've done amazing. I don't want to let up on the knights or anything like that, so my captain fires at the knights and does 2 wounds himself to him. So, yeah, the captain and shooter combo. I'm enjoying that. I really am. And then the bigot that I have left, who's got just enough sight to see the big infantry guys, fires his bow at him and actually does a wound. It made me laugh pretty hard, but I'll take what I can get. And then just because I want my opponent to think that I want to keep the red scouts there, I use, and I don't have a better target, I use the Army Standards Healing Charm on the red goblin scouts, healing the 1 wound that was on them. We jump into combat, and my giant flubs terrifically. I get 7 attacks total, and only 1 does any damage. He was there to hug, not fight. Results of which are, of course, the giant backs off an inch and the demon is not phased at all. So that could be a really good fight in a minute. That's it for combat. So we go over here to bottom of 2 after movement. And my opponent does not take the bait again, unfortunately. His little demon goes in, countercharges the giant. His warhounds go back into my red goblin scouts. All of that is totally expected. But he didn't take my bait anywhere else. As you can see in the center, it all stays there. His Keeper of Souls falls back towards the token. That's where he put his loot counter, by the way, in the back center of his deployment area. Don't fully understand why he said he was going to make it difficult for me, but... okay, I mean, it is. It's as far away as it could possibly get, really. And stuff on the right flank more or less stays where it's at. I think the Nurgle-looking guys move forward maybe an inch. That's really about it, which I think gave my warriors the charge on them. I'm not 100% on that, but I'm pretty sure. But what really threw me off is on the left flank there, his big, scary demon, Ball-El or whatever, doesn't go after the giant, doesn't charge into anything. He was just outside of charge range for my captain and my shooters, so he moved up right where you're seeing him there so that he could shoot his lightning bolt at, I believe, my captain. And I don't know if he didn't see it or not, but that gives my warriors a flank charge into him, and I'll take that. I'll take that every time. So, yeah, that's it for his movement. In the pansy phase, he fires a lightning bolt off at my captain and does a single wound to him, which is, yeah, that's about right. And then we jump into combat. He's playing Abyssals. He likes to get the good stuff quick. His little demon does 3 wounds to my giant, and that is 3 times better than what my giant did to him. So I was a little worried. I mean, he's a 17-19, so even if he rolls boxcars, I'm okay. Well, I'll be wavered. And he's got Fury, so I'm okay. But it's a real limp-wristed fight between 2 rather large monsters. My giant is totally okay, his demon backs off an inch, and we'll get back to that in a minute. The warhounds take another shot at my red goblin scouts, and they're able to do 2 wounds this time. Again, not doing a ton of damage on either side right now in close combat. I guess that's because the real heavy hitters haven't actually started fighting yet. This time, however, it is enough to break my scouts, and that's fine. It is time. Here's top of 3 after movement, and I make my move. Well, I make a move, I should say. My warrior's on the left flank. I've got this flank charge on the big scary demon. I'm going to take it. I don't know if it's a good idea. I don't know if my opponent made a mistake. I'm not real sure what the deal is, but I'm going to take the shot. They charge into the flank of the demon and hit no problem. The giant countercharges the little demon and hopefully does more than 1 wound this time. My blow-up chariots slam into the dogs, and I'm hoping to break the dogs, go forward, and get the big infantry, the knights, and the little infantry to charge them, doing massive damage all over the place. To bait his big unit out and possibly his infantry, I send my last bigot out into the middle, going ha hee hee, here I am. And then my siege breakers, my naked unit of chariots, and my other army standard with the healing charm kind of bulk up over on the right side there, getting ready to countercharge if something takes the bait of the bigot. On the right flank there, my warriors slam into the Nurgling things and get a hold of them. I send my army standard forward just because for his countercharge, I figured I'm probably going to need to reroll. My siege breakers move up in such a way that if my warriors get flank charged by the bloodletter things, I can countercharge them, which would put them further down the thing because the bones are just difficult terrain. We didn't make it impassable. And yeah, if this goes my way, if I can get things to fall into place where I want them to fall into place, this could be this point where I start winning this game. So I'm a little excited because I don't win very often. In the pansy phase, my shooters fire at the knights again, putting 5 more wounds on them, which I think is 6, 12, 13 wounds on them total, which is good because the knights I'm actually really afraid of. And then my captain follows suit and does the same thing and puts 3 more wounds on him, which was absolutely fantastic. That was enough for them because we roll their nerve check at the end of the phase and they are routed off the table, which is huge. Huge that unit is no longer something I have to worry about. Now, if I can just get his little infantry and his big infantry to charge those chariots, which I'm going to try my best to give them a flank charge at. Then we jump into the combat phase, and I put 4 wounds onto the demon this time. I think I get 7 attacks, but this time 4 wound, which is much better than my original attack. Now the little demon's got 5 wounds on him total. It's not enough to so much as even phase him. I back off an inch, and he's going to get the countercharge next turn. I could be in trouble. Okay, so over here, beating up on this big-ass named demon, Bel-El or whatever, even with 36 attacks, I'm only able to wound 10 times. And don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. 10 hits, or 10 wounds out of 36 attacks on something as terrifying on this as this thing is that's awesome. I'm very pleased. So that brings him up to a total of 16 already, and that's when I roll his nerve check out, and I'm hoping, and it works out. He's dead, and I turn to face over where the demonettes and everything are because I don't want them to have an easy charge on me. If they are going to charge me, it's going to be in the front. And very pleased about that because I honestly didn't have any other answer for that big-ass demon. I got lucky as hell there. Over here, my chariots with only 12 attacks get 10 wounds through on the warhounds, bringing them up to a total of 11, which is extraordinary. And I rout them. I turn my chariots to face like this because I want his infantry to charge me. I would have exposed my rear to him, but I thought that would be too obvious. Instead, I turn to face the big infantry because I'm trying to pull the little guys and the big guys into them because that would be phenomenal. But we'll see. We'll see if my opponent takes the bait. And finally, my warriors into whatever this unit is, the Nurgling-looking guys, I do 10 wounds to them. I mean, I don't know what it is. 10 seems to be a nice round number that we're all going for in this combat phase. And yeah, 10 wounds onto these guys. I'll take it. I then proceed to roll a 10 and then boxcars for his nerve check, and it's wonderful. The whole unit is vaporized. Now, the downside to this is I decide, all right, in order to get another charge arc and to start going after that token in the middle, these guys need to get forward. So I'm going to go D6 inches straight forward. And as you can see, little dice in the bottom left there, I went an inch, which puts me beautifully in flank charge for that little 10-man unit on my right. Shit. Oh well, I guess things were going a little too well this turn. And that takes us to bottom of 3, because combat's over. I know, we'll get back to it in a minute, don't worry. So top of 3, the best possible thing happens. He takes the bait with both his big infantry and his little infantry. I could care less. I was so happy when I saw that. I was like, yay! Because my siege breakers are right there. My chariots are right behind them. I can't wait. I cannot wait. My other warriors are ready to countercharge. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be absolutely beautiful because it's going to do infinity wounds to these guys. Another great piece of luck here is his horde brick slams into the bigot, taking the bait. Stupid happy about that. His soul keeper comes charging towards the middle to try to help out his units over there, and his little troop unit of bloodletters slams into the flank of my ogres. We all knew that was coming. I give that 60-40 against, I gotta be honest. The only other thing that happens is on the left flank, his little demon charges back into my giant, and that's it for movement. So we go into the pansy phase, and his Well of Souls, or whatever it is, maybe it was during the movement phase, his Well of Souls actually sucks up the wounds from his large infantry unit there, making it so basically they're fully healed. I did not know that thing could do that, and that's incredible. That's going to be a difficult thing to get past. And that brings us into the combat phase. His little demon beats the crap out of my giant, doing 5 wounds to him, bringing him up to 8. I still should be okay. I'm hoping here, but we'll see, because he's only a 17-19. Well, he's only a 17-19. He is an amazing 17-19. Thank God he rolls low, and my giant isn't even wavered, so he backs off an inch, and hopefully I'll do more than a few wounds to him next turn. This combat goes against the chariots as bad as you possibly could think. His dice open up, the floodgates just open, and as you can see, there is a ton of wounds on the chariots. I'm not even going to bother to count it. Rout and explode! Which is exciting as hell, because that's exactly what I wanted to have happen. The small infantry unit on the flank there ends up taking 8 wounds, and the larger infantry takes 10 wounds. 10. Yes! 2d6! Oh, I was so happy. I know it makes me a terrible person, but I was so happy to see that, because both of those units are very manageable now, because I got the warriors on the left side there getting ready to charge the light infantry, and I've got the siege breakers on the right there getting ready to charge the large infantry right there. Or maybe the chariots will. You'll have to wait and find out. He reforms them like so. The small infantry turn to face the warriors that are going to be charging him next turn, and the big infantry turn to face either the chariots or the siege breakers that are coming at them next turn. And then the little sacrificial bigot there, he takes, what, 13 wounds? And yeah, that's higher than his rout number. The poor little guy's beaten to death in routs, and I was only putting him there to keep those guys in check and to bait him out if I could. In this combat, with this little troop of 10 guys getting double their attacks, they're able to do 8 wounds to my warriors on the flank. That really hurt. All I can do is hope that he rolls low. I do have my army standard right behind him, so there's a chance. And it pays off beautifully. They aren't routed, but they are wavered. Since, see the little baby? Yeah, they're wavered, so they didn't die, which means there's a chance. I have my siege breakers right there. Hopefully they can charge in, smash these guys, and then go d6 inches forward so that they can be closer to his board edge with the loot token and secure my 2 points. That takes us over to the top of 4, and I go all in. On the left side there, my giant recharges the small demon. My warriors charge into his light infantry there, the little demonettes. The siege breakers charge into the horde brick that killed my bigot last turn, and that's exciting anyway. And then my chariots charge into the large infantry to try to capitalize on the retribution crystal that put like 8 to 10 wounds on them last turn. On the right flank there, my siege breakers charge over the dangerous enemy, are going to be hindered, but whatever. Difficult terrain anyway. Into the flank of the warriors, or whatever the hell they are, the bloodletters, I don't know. And that's really it. My one army standard in the middle just kind of moves up to try to give his inspiring presence to anyone that needs it, and everything else I had is dead or on that hill with nothing to shoot. Well, I guess I could shoot at the Well of Souls, but that's it for movement. In the pansy phase, my shooters take aim at the Well of Souls and are able to do 4 wounds to it. I'm rolling out of the box, what can I tell you? The Well of Souls is fine, so we jump into combat, and my giant does not disappoint. He does 4 solid wounds to the baby demon. And I'll nickel and dime him all game, as long as I don't lose my giant yet. The baby demon has a high nerve check as well, and I don't even so much as waver him. I back off an inch, and the giant gets ready to earn his paycheck. Let's see what happens. Over here, the warriors using their two-handed weapons because, wow, you would think crushing 1 and 2 there would be a difference, but I really like crushing strength 2. They do 8 more wounds to this unit, bringing it up to a total of 16, I believe. The unit routs, and I turn the warriors to face the baby demon because I'm starting to think that maybe my giant is gone next turn. That's fine. I'll attack him and hopefully be able to finish him off. You know, I'm just hedging my bets at this point. With the chariots against the large infantry guys here, I do 5 wounds to them. Not bad, considering they only have 12 attacks. I'll take what I can get. That ain't terrible. I think that brings them up to 15 total. God, that Crystal Retribution is so nice. And because I'm still rolling out of the box for nerve checks, they rout. Yeah, I was as surprised as you are. My chariots turn to face the Well of Souls, and I'm just rocking along. My Siege Breakers, who were inspired by the Fleabag's sacrifice, I'm sorry, Red Goblin Bigot's sacrifice, are able to knock out 7 wounds on the Horde Brick. Not enough. Not even going to try to goad you into that one. We both know they're not going anywhere, but 7 wounds is a hell of an opener. They aren't so much as phased by the attack, and I back off an inch, like so. For the final combat of the turn, my Siege Breakers put 20 wounds on this little troop of scumbags. That's with them being hindered. Granted, they're hitting on 4s, but yeah, that's with them being hindered. 20 wounds. Yeah. Yeah, Siege Breakers are broken. They rout, and I move my unit forward d6 inches, and I think I rolled a 5 or a 6. Obviously, I rolled high because I'm almost out of the difficult terrain, which is outstanding. That really helps me solidify those 2 points from the loot token that is in that unit. With combat over, we go to bottom of 4 after movement, and the Well of Souls guys goes into the chariot, I believe, and the small demon goes back into my giant. Other than that, that's it for movement. Well, no, that's not entirely true. His Horde Break slams back into my Siege Breakers. Sorry about that. We go straight into combat because he doesn't really have anything to do in the pansy phase. Starting off with his little demon, puts 4 more wounds on my giant. That puts me at, I believe, 12. Kind of getting close. Once again, I get lucky as hell, and my giant does not rout. He is wavered, but he's got Fury, so it doesn't really matter. All I'm going to do is countercharge with him next turn. And I'm probably going to send the warriors in just to be absolutely sure. With the combat against the Well of Souls, it attacks my chariots and does 2 wounds to it, which, honestly, this thing's got a lot of cool support abilities. I think he just threw it in there because, you know, what else could he do with it, really? My chariots are perfectly fine, and he backs off an inch. In this combat, mostly thanks to defense 6, I only take 5 wounds. His Horde Brick was only able to do 5 wounds, so he rolled awfully. Awfully. You can see the 5 wounds in the back there, but 5 wounds. They're going to be perfectly fine, and they are. He backs off an inch, and that's the end of combat. We go in the top of 5 after movement, and I decide not to send the warriors in. Honestly, I don't remember why. I think it was just one of those things where, I mean, this guy's my friend, you know? So the giant goes back into the demon and hits no problem because he's got Fury. Yes, he's wavered, but he's got Fury, so it doesn't matter. The chariots slam back into the Well of Souls. The Siege Breakers slam into the Horde Brick. The Siege Breakers with the token move forward 5 inches because that's all they can do. They were in the difficult terrain or whatever. And then the other warriors that were wavered last turn and move 12 inches towards the token, so hopefully they can secure it in turn 6. Other than that, the army standard without the healing standard, the unpainted one in the top right corner there, goes over to possibly rear charge the Horde Brick, and everything else pretty much stays right where it's at. That's it for movement. In the pansy phase, my army standard uses the healing charm on the Siege Breakers that are in combat with the Horde Brick and heals 2 wounds off of them, so just staying power just in case. And then we dive into combat. My giant is able to put 2 solid wounds on the baby demon thing, which isn't great, but honestly, my giant's been through a lot right now. He's probably missing an arm, so I totally understand. But it turns out to be enough. Those last 2 wounds pushed him over the edge. I was able to roll high enough, and he routed. I turned my giant to face the middle of the table, and that was awesome. My giant kicked ass this game. I activate my chariots next and do 5 solid wounds to the Well of Souls, bringing it up to... it looks like 11, maybe? I don't roll high enough to so much as even waver the stupid thing, and I back off an inch. So I've got another turn or 2 against it. I should be able to finish it off. And then right here, my Siege Breakers do another 7 wounds to the Horde Brick, and you know what? I respect the consistency. I might have been able to break them with 14 wounds on them, but as you can see in the bottom of the picture, I rolled Snake Eyes, which means not only are they okay, but they are invigorated by the pain. I have a bad feeling my Siege Breaker is going to pay for this next turn. Here's bottom of 5 after movement, and his Horde Brick goes back into my Siege Breakers, and his Well of Souls goes into my Chariots. That is it for his movement. It's going to go fast. We jump into combat, and he's able to do 2 more wounds to my Chariots, which isn't a surprise at all, which brings them up to 4 wounds. I'm perfectly fine. He backs off an inch, and I will see him next combat phase. His Horde Brick slamming into my Siege Breakers. Again, Defense 6 was super difficult for him to get through, and he rolled like his dice just shut off. This isn't his fault at all. My Siege Breakers should have been bleeding from multiple deep lacerations, and his dice were just like, we are tired. And he told them to go ahead and take a nap, and they did. So 3 more wounds go on my Siege Breakers, bringing him up to 6. He bounces off an inch, and my Siege Breakers get ready to countercharge. With combat over, here's top of 6 after movement, and I countercharge. My Chariots charge back into the Well of Souls, and my Siege Breakers charge back into the Horde Brick. This time, though, I bring my unpainted army standard into their rear. He's not an individual, so he's going to get 9 attacks, but he's a crappy attacker anyway. I really just keep him around for the inspiring, so if he can do 1 wound, I'll be thrilled. On the top end of the picture there, on the right side, my Siege Breakers go pretty much all the way to his table edge, and the Warriors go 12 inches, touching the token and claiming it, solidifying 4 points or securing 4 points for me. The other token is actually on his Well of Souls right now, and if I don't get it off of him, I'm not going to be able to get it. So I'm trying. During the Pansy phase, my Army Standard heals 1 wound off the Siege Breakers. Again, just hedging my bets. With nothing to shoot at, we jump right into combat, and my Chariots are able to do 4 more wounds to this Well of Lost Souls. I still can't roll high enough to get this thing off the table, and it's not even wavered, because I don't think it can waver. And I back off an inch. Maybe I should have sent the Siege Breakers into this thing. Who knows? This combat goes a little bit better than just 7 wounds. I'm able to do 12 total. I believe the Army Standard was able to add 2 or 3, which is terrific. And the Siege Breakers did their job. So 12 more wounds on a unit that already had 14, bring them up to 26, I believe? Or maybe 11. Maybe they only had 11. Either way, the unit finally breaks, and my Siege Breakers turn to face the Well of Souls guy. In the off chance I get to charge him. We go to bottom of 6, and the only thing that happens is his Well of Souls charges back into the Chariots, just trying to get those points, and I can't blame him. We jump straight into combat, and consistency is key. His Well of Souls does another 2 wounds to my Chariots. With 6 wounds on him, though, there is a chance he could break them. They're only like a 12-14. It does actually work out for him in a way. He wavers this unit, so they wouldn't be able to charge him next turn. But the odds of it going to turn 7 are like 1 in 6, 2 in 6, 1/3, something like that. It does not go to turn 7, so there it is. There's the end of the game. And it was really, really good for the Ogres. I got lucky in quite a few places, and then when his dice shut off, mine turned on. So I can't complain. My dice and luck won the game, and like I always say, it's better to be lucky than good. So yeah, this was brutal. My Ogres performed incredibly well, especially my Giant, who went toe-to-toe with a demon for 3 or 4 turns and finally beat him. Again, dice rolling out of the box. And yeah, I couldn't be happier with the list or how the Ogres played. We'll get to the recap right away, though, because this game is over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
So in the end, it was a victory for Lord Tremendous. I ended up getting 4 loot points, or 4 victory points from him, and he got 2 from me. I got 4 by having my Siege Breakers and my Warriors on basically his deployment zone with tokens, and his Keeper of Souls had 1, and it was on my side of the table, so we got 2. I ended up getting 2,015 points out of him. He got 470 out of me for a difference of 1545, which really would only have been important if there was some sort of tie. And yeah, it was an insane game. Really, really was. I did find it a little funny that the minute I lose the Warlock, I start succeeding. You know, I mean, do you think that it's a coincidence? Do you think it's just lucky? I'm willing to bet it's because I dropped the Warlock. I hear you, Fate, and I will comply. The captain is nice, but I may not keep him in the game after the tournament. I mean, his 5 shots were cool and all, but he really didn't contribute anything real big. In fact, he missed more often than he hit. But we'll see. It's only my first try with him, so we'll see. But I think I could better use the points. We'll see. As always, though, my shooters were absolutely incredible and really set the tone for me for the entire game. What really helped me a lot in this game was that crazy lucky flank charge on Bel-El. That was just game-changing. I was terrified of it. I had no real answer for it. I didn't concentrate fire on it like I should have. I went after the Knights, and when I was able to charge it in the flank, you know, but it's a game where you try to capitalize on mistakes. So, yeah, that was absolutely huge. Concentrating fire on the Knights ended up being pivotal also. Actually, it was a good choice. But, man, that could have went the other way so easily. And that Keeper of Souls is traumatizing. It is crazy good. It can soak up wounds, it can heal wounds, and then it's got like a nerve check in the 50s. So oh, man, you should be running 3 of those. This was a hell of a game, though. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I was chewing my fingernails off the entire time. One hell of an opponent. I really enjoy playing against this guy. And so far for the tournament, I go into it undefeated. First round, undefeated, right? Yeah, I know I'm being optimistic. Anyway, I cannot wait for a rematch. I will happily go up against him and watch as he eats my army alive the next time we face off. But that's going to do it, everybody. That's it for number 13. It is officially in the history books. As always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, feel free to put them in the comment section below, and I will get back to you as quick as I can. But as always, guys, thanks.